Hello and welcome as we proceed with the Bible knowledge in Form 3. Today we are looking at the Assyrians still sending another threat to Jerusalem, to Judah. And this time it was a letter. We're going to look at the letter. Last time, if you remember, we were looking at the first threat in chapter 36, where the Assyrians, they sent their official to talk to the king. Instead of speaking the official language, we saw to it that he was speaking the general language whereby all the people were listening. And he shouted, insulted the people, and the king Hezekiah received the message in such a way that he showed great faith. And you know what happened there. So please follow through. But today we are looking at the Assyrians sent another threat to Jerusalem or to Judah, and this time it is a letter. So we're going to base on chapter 37, from chapter 37 verse 8 to chapter 38. So this is where we have this lesson. We are basing our lesson today. I am your teacher, W.A. Mawowa. Be there up to the end. Now, we are still analyzing the first Isaiah. So today we are looking at another threat from Assyria, and this time it's a letter. So by the end of this lesson, it is expected that you be able to analyze how this threat, the second threat from the Assyrians was. So you should know everything, the detail about this threat. Now, here I will read just few verses from here. Now, from verse 8, I'm reading from the Good News Bible. Remember, the Good News Bible is very, very important for you to be with. Verse 8, the Assyrian official learned that the emperor had left Lachish and was fighting against the nearby city of Libnah. So he went there to consult him. Word reached the Assyrians that the Egyptian army led by King Tirhakah of Ethiopia was coming to attack them. When the emperor heard this, he sent letter to King Hezekiah of Judah to say to him, the God you are trusting in has told you that you will not fall into my hands, but don't let that deceive you. You have heard what an Assyrian emperor does to any country he decides to destroy. Do not think that you can escape. My ancestors destroyed the cities of Gazon, Haran, and Rezeph, and killed the people of Betheden who lived in Telassa, and none of their gods could save them. Where are the kings of the cities of Hamath, Apad, Sepharvaim, Hena, and Iva? King Hezekiah took the letter from the messengers and read it. He then went to the temple, placed the letter there in the presence of the Lord, and prayed, Almighty Lord, God of Israel, enthroned above the winged creatures, you alone are God, ruling all the kingdoms of the world. You created the earth and the sky. Now, Lord, hear us and look at what is happening to us. Listen to the things that Sennacherib is saying to insult you, the living God. We all know, Lord, that the emperors of Assyria have destroyed many nations, made their lands desolate, and bent up their gods, which were no gods at all, only images of wood and stone made by human hands. Now, Lord, our God, rescue us from the Assyrians, so that all the nations of the world will know that you alone are God. So this is the letter from the Assyrians and the response from Hezekiah. Now describe the content of the letter from the passage that we have read there. You can see, you can recall what we have learned about. So in the letter there from the emperor of Assyria, this is what was contained. Your God cheats you when he says, I will not defend you. Yahweh cannot save you since Assyrian gods are greater than any other gods, including Yahweh. From the past, Assyria has been victorious over nations with their gods. And finally, Judah will not escape the destruction from the Assyrian empire. This is the content of the letter from the Assyrians. They are undermining the God of the Jews. They are uplifting themselves. They are showing their strength to say, we have defeated all the nations which are greater than yours. And what makes you think that you can stand against our army? Look at that. How is this message in the letter similar to how politicians command respect of the day in Malawi? So understand this question to say, how is this content similar to how politicians today in Malawi, they command respect, they require people to respect them? How? What do you think? Is there any relationship to how the politicians, or maybe you're not following politics? From today, you need to start following what is happening in your territory, in your land, in Malawi. You have to follow what is happening, who is doing what, who is commanding respect, who is desiring respect from the people, and what do they do. So, can you go back to the content of the letter and study the content and see what is happening today in Malawian politics? Now, we see today that party leaders often dismiss from the party anybody who does not respect their decisions. We have ever seen, we see these things, we hear these things. So has been dismissed from the party because they did not respect maybe the leader or whatever. Party leaders always want their followers to praise them even if they are making wrong decisions. Do you see that one in Malawi? Maybe or maybe not. Ruling party threatens not to bring development in areas where people did not vote for them overwhelmingly as a punishment. Do you see that, or do you hear that happening? The ruling party leaders forget that they are just Yahweh's instruments and start threatening their subjects. You hear about threats. So has been arrested. So has been arrested because you're speaking ill about the president or about the party, whatever. All those things. Do you see those things happening? So we are just trying to simulate, to compare the contents of the letter from the Assyrians threatening the people of Judah and what is happening in our today's world. What was Hezekiah's reaction after receiving the letter from Sennacherib? So look at this. He read it. He went to the temple. He placed the letter before the Lord and he prayed. So we see here, this should remind you something else when we said that Hezekiah was a man of faith. He was so faithful to God. Whatever circumstance happened to him, the first thing was to consult God. So look at what happened. He received the letter. He read it and he was shocked. Then he said, all right, I'll go to the temple. Then he went to the temple there. And he spread the letter on the altar there to say, God, I will not manage to read this letter in your presence, but I'm spreading this letter here. Read it by yourself. Read it, God, and see what Sennacherib is saying. Look at that. So he was really a man of faith. So he went to the temple. He placed the letter before the Lord That is, he wanted God to read the letter by himself to see the contents, how the other people are seeing this God. So let God defend yourself at this time. These people have not inserted me, Hezekiah. They are inserting you, God. Read it by yourself, because my words may exaggerate the things. These are the contents, God. Read them by yourself. So he was indeed depending on God. And not only that, he prayed to God. Why did Hezekiah ask Yahweh to save them from the Assyrians? So there in the content in the Bible, we read that he wanted to show there to prove that Yahweh, the God of Israel, was the only living God. There he asked Yahweh to save them from the Assyrians, to prove that Yahweh is stronger than the Assyrians, the gods of the Assyrians, whom the letter said that we have the powerful gods, we have destroyed other gods. And who is your God to stand against us? So this time around, Hezekiah says, these Assyrians have destroyed many people, and they are coming to destroy us. So God, save us from them, to prove that you alone is God. Outline, outline the taunt song against Sennacherib. Outline God's taunt song against Sennacherib. So here, when we continue reading, we'll not read there, but when you proceed reading the subsequent chapters or verses there from verse 21, there you hear the message from Isaiah. There is a message from Isaiah where now God is laughing at Sennacherib to say, ah, you he could have stopped where, or maybe before writing anything or before starting anything else. So what did God say? Jerusalem laughs at you as a young girl makes fun of a great conqueror. So like a young girl is laughing at a great conqueror to say, ah, look at that, it's not powerful, all those things. Then you have been disrespectful to Yahweh. You have forgotten that you are only God's instrument carrying out his plans. Yahweh will punish you for your arrogance and pride. So this is the message from God through Isaiah to say, Assyria, God is now laughing at you. God chose you to punish his people. Not that you are strong, but he just used you. But now you have grown so proud, such that your arrogance is so high. So you have been disrespectful to God who sent you. So Jerusalem is laughing at you as a young girl making fun of a great conqueror. Look at that. So what was Isaiah's message to King Hezekiah? So in this way, we see Sennacherib will not enter Jerusalem or shoot a single arrow against it. So to Hezekiah, God sent King God sent Isaiah to tell King Hezekiah to say, your faith really is great. So God is going to rescue Jerusalem. And not even a single arrow is going to be shot into Jerusalem because of the king. Now Sennacherib will not enter Jerusalem, or not even a single arrow will be shot against Jerusalem. So this is the message to encourage King Hezekiah to keep his faith on God. So this is what we see there. No soldier will come near Jerusalem, and no siege mounds will be built around it. So we see here that he's still encouraging the king to say no Assyrian army will enter Jerusalem. Sennacherib will go back by the road on which he came without entering the city. Look at that. That is building more faith onto Hezekiah to say, Hezekiah, yes, Sennacherib has sent a lot of soldiers towards Jerusalem, but they will not enter Jerusalem. Rather, what will happen is that they will return. They will also use the same route they used to come to Jerusalem without even entering into Jerusalem. If it were you, the king, who is having faith in God, how could you feel? You could really feel that really God exists. God answers the prayers. Really, the Assyrians were a big threat because it was like America, a big country, superpower, threatening to conquer Malawi. Then they come with all their strength only to go back without defeating Malawi, and going back only to be defeated by other countries. Look at that. How can you say God existed? God intervened on King Hezekiah. The Lord will defend the city of Jerusalem. So this is the message that Isaiah is telling the King Hezekiah. And God is in control because of the promise he made to David that his kingdom will last forever. His dynasty will never end. Look at this. So he adds on to say, yes, your faith, you have good faith, King Hezekiah, but God is doing it to honor his promise for his sake. He is doing for his to honor his promises that he made to King David when he said that your dynasty will not end. So he promised David to say, your dynasty will be protected forever, it will not end. So that's why God is saying, God is intervening, yes, through your faith, King Hezekiah, but it is through the promises that he made to King David. For what reasons will Yahweh defend Jerusalem? For what reasons will Yahweh defend Jerusalem? We have already talked about this. For the sake of his honor, for the sake of his own name, for his own namesake, for his namesake, because he wanted to, for the sake of the promise, again, he made to King David. So for his honor and also for the promise he made to King David. So that's why he is going to defend Jerusalem. And describe the prophecy that is fulfilled in this passage. So kingdom of David will last forever and the Davidic dynasty will never end. So the prophecy, that one is being fulfilled. Explain the signs given in Yahweh's response to show that he would save Jerusalem. Because this time again, it needed a sign simply because the defeat of Jerusalem was just imminent. It was approaching because they were seeing the soldiers coming. But they really needed a great sign here. So what was the sign? So in 3 years' time, people will be planting and harvesting their vineyards. People in Judah will flourish like plants that that end roots deep into the ground and produce fruits. There will be survivors in Jerusalem and Mount Zion. So these are the signs. People will be planting and harvesting in their vineyards just within 3 years. So they'll be flourishing. They'll be flourishing like plants that are flourishing in good grounds. And there will be survivors in Jerusalem and Mount Zion. Describe how the Lord saved Jerusalem. So historically, now we enter it. How did the Lord save Jerusalem? So what happened again was that 185 soldiers in the Assyrian camp died because of a plague. So there was a plague like coronavirus or whatever just came all overnight, and all 185,000 soldiers, they perished within a single period. So within a short period, they all perished. The Assyrian emperor withdrew and went to Nineveh, where he was killed in the temple by his own two sons. Look at that. When the Assyrian emperor Sennacherib came to Jerusalem, then he heard of a rebellion back home to say, your sons are rebelling there. They have staged a rebellion. He said, oh, my sons. Then he went back. As soon as he went back there, he was received by a spear on his chest and he was dead. What punishment did God give Sennacherib? So that's what we just said, that he was killed by his own sons. The two people who killed Sennacherib, Adramelech and Sharezer. So these are the people, his sons, Adramelech and Sharezer. So how did Hezekiah show his faith after receiving the letter from Sennacherib? So how did he show faith? He went to the temple, placed the letter in the presence of God. He prayed, he praised the Lord and the one true God. So this is what he did. Now, to this far, we have come to the end of this lesson. Now, here with me, I have a short, or as usual, a single question that was there from Maneb, 1998, way back. Now, it's from the same passage that we are looking at. Now, in this case, you need to answer these questions, respond to these questions, then I have to give you the feedback. If you have any question, please, you can ask following the WhatsApp number, and you can also go to Xulendo.org and follow through other lessons as well for other subjects. And for the resources, the references, you can also consult these other books that will also help you to understand better the things that we are trying to analyze in Proto-Isaiah. Until next time, I'm your teacher, W.A. Mawowa. Listen to the voice of substance. Thank you.